Take a moment to peek into the lives of inspirational people living the true definition of happiness with author, presenter, personal stylist and coach Moana Robinson, who chats to people who have overcome challenges to live their best life. Moana is a passion and purpose coach and a personal stylist who empowers others to discover their best life and style, regardless of age. Here is Moana.
Today I'm taking a moment with Wendy Trevarthen. I've known Wendy for a little while now because she works for 48 Hour Author. And Wendy is going to chat today about some challenges that she's had in her life and how she's overcome them. Welcome, Wendy, and thank you for taking a moment with me.
Pleasure, Moana. Nice to be here. Hi, everyone.
Although I've known Wendy for a little while, we haven't really had a chance to chat on a personal level, have we? It's always been about books and
it's always been about authoring and book writing, and and how we're going with our current situation. And sometimes when we talk to people, we know that there's a backstory there. I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk to others about some of the challenges that I've been through in my life, and I've got three that I'd like to talk about today. Pivotal moments throughout my life that led me to this journey now with writing and getting my messages down in the written word to help others.
Yes, so and you're over 50, so perfect genre for my listeners.
I think I'm well qualified.
What was the first challenge that you'd like to talk about?
So the first one was probably I talk about this in actually the intro of both of the books, because earlier in my life it really sort of planted the seed that I didn't realise until later in my life, just around personal values and how important family and staying true to yourself is. When I was 17, my dad got a disease called Guillain-Barré syndrome, where he was left as a quadriplegic, ICU for 14 months. So my abled father at my age, at 17, left my world. So if you can imagine the impact that has on you as a young woman, your self-esteem. I mean, your dad is your hero. He's the person that you look up to. And then all of a sudden, he was not there for a long period of time. At that age, I was very impressed, easily impressed, because I was seeking that attention from males at that time, and not with just not having your father there. It really did affect my self-esteem and self-worth during that time. And it wasn't until I went through leading into my divorce in my early 40s that I realised that really had an impact on my self-esteem and self-worth. So I did a lot of work in my 40s around self-esteem, self-confidence, all that sort of thing. Hence why this book was born, Midlife Mojo, You're 50, Cut the Crap. It's a well-being book. On the front, it's actually referenced to weight, but on the inside, you'll read that my values come through in that book, around family, about self-worth, about recognising yourself as an authentic, positive person. The second challenge that I want to talk about is, during that divorce period. So going through that with two children under the age of 15, tweens, being able to do that as a single parent was a really tough time. So kudos to anybody out there that's, a single parent and trying to do that through those really important years. Because, and again, family came first. I was like big mama bear. I was protecting my children, and, that has come through even to more recently with my daughter's situation in her life. So staying really true to, your core values is central to that. That was the second challenge. The third challenge more recently, in the last, I'd say 3 to 4 years, is going through my nursing career. I'd been quite successful. It's funny, I was successful in a career with my nursing, but my home situation wasn't really all that successful. And, this is where the balance comes in and needs to be really important. So my third challenge was around, reaching a stage in my nursing career where I love nursing people. I love talking to people. I mean, that comes through. You've known me for a couple of years.
Yep.
But what I could see in there was that, again, my core values were rubbing against what I was experiencing in my career. Now, this is a personal reflection. It's not a reflection on anybody else. But what I was seeing time and time again in the job opportunities that I was having is that, after 12, 18 months, I would see sort of cracks, and I would speak up for all the right reasons. And, again, my self-worth got challenged because my core belief and what I was actually seeing were competing against each other. And this is the reason why in the last 2 years, I was actively looking at other opportunities. I wrote my 2 books with Nat. I had a higher self-belief in what I was doing and where my, core values were. And when that position came up with Natasha, I went, you know what? I can actually transfer and use, my years of experience in talking with people, understanding where they are at, and working with them at their level, and talking to them about writing their books, because I'd written 2 by that stage. So when that opportunity came up, I grabbed it. I went, this is an opportunity for me to transition from nursing. So I didn't realise when I wrote this book, when I started writing this, it would actually turn into a legacy book for myself. So I'm super proud that I've done these 2 books, because it really sort of shows 2 sort of pivot points in my life. Self-esteem challenges that I've had over the years I've worked on my personal development all through those times. And, I really enjoy what I'm doing now. I'm not in a situation where my self-belief or core values are challenged anymore. I'm actually in an environment where I feel peace and authentic. Really happy where I'm sitting at the moment.
How many years were you nursing?
Since my first, because I trained in a hospital, so I'm not university trained. I actually did 3 years in hospital. Then I went back to university to get my degree, because we left as a hospital with a hospital certificate. So 37 years all up. 1986 I started.
What do you think was the biggest thing that changed you the most for the positive, that helped you to get over any of those hurdles or challenges?
Part of the things that helped me was, I'd have to say, running. So, and I talk about, long distance running and midlife mojo, because that was my thing that assisted me in moving forward and obviously making healthier choices. But I don't know, there's something about running, it's meditative. Like when you actually get into that groove, you really are in a place where there's nobody else. It's up to you to do the hard work and to achieve the goals that you set yourself. So I started running and found I could do 5Ks. And I went, you know what? If I can do 5Ks, I can do 10Ks. If I can do 10Ks, I can do 15. And I ended up running 5 half marathons. So I think the pivotal moment was around those 12 months, 18 months when I was training to do the half marathons, because I then discovered that alone time, that meditative kind of process, and also the discipline that's required in that. You had to make a lot of changes in your own personal habits and what you were doing to support the activity of running a half marathon, So I think that period of time was quite pivotal in changing my mindset and, believing in myself. Yeah. And achieving that, one of my highest values is achievement too. So I like achieving things. I like setting goals and being able to achieve them.
You used to run before?
No, I was a netball player.
Oh.
So growing up, I was a very active sports woman, but I'd never used to do the long distance running. I think the most I ran was 3Ks. But then, finding yourself and putting yourself out there and making a new network of friends, and trying to align what you were trying to do, as well as having a social kind of circle. It was the running groups that I joined during that time. I enjoyed running with friends. It was good.
Did you ever do any of the park runs?
So yes, we've been a very active park run participant up until the last 2 or 3 years. So our Sandgate is our local park run, and I've done many of those and also volunteered. And during that time, I actually trained as a personal trainer. So park run, I used to do the post-run stretches. Now, nobody does any stretching after running a park run. I don't know why. I actually submitted an article to Park Run Australia just saying how important those stretches are afterwards. And that's a thread of what I've been like. Like, I just don't go to park run and participate. I like to give, that little bit extra and impart what I learn and what I believe in. So I'm not actively running at the moment because of some other health issues that come into play. But those stretches are still going on 2 years after we finish them down at Sandgate Park Run. So, the momentum kept on, and every time I go down there and see them actually doing the stretches, there's one or two that remember that Nigel and I started there many years ago, but it's really nice.
Oh, that's right. And you've remarried, of course, to Nigel.
Yeah, not repartnered, not married.
Repartnered, sorry. Yeah.
But very, very happy there, and that's part of the story too. Finding that ideal partner with similar interests, and having, not only a partner, lover, etc., but also having, a friend for life. Yeah,
it's important to have that friendship and to have at least some things that you like to do together. I think it's healthy to have your individual interests, but to have a combined interest as well, a few things that you like doing together. You did a lot of work to overcome the self-esteem issues. What sort of work did you do?
I basically self-developed myself, like read a lot of books, a lot of inspirational philosophers, keynote Jim Rohn, who was the precursor to Tony Robbins. I read a lot of his work, and just reflecting and using, like I used the word reflections on my second book. A nursing model of improving what you do as a nurse is called reflective practice. So it's at the end of the day, looking on your day's work and what you've done and what you can actually improve on in the next time that you have a similar scenario with those patients. That's called reflective practice. So you look back on what you've done and how you can do it or improve. Taking that model, in everyday life to life. And I'm even using that now, working with Nat, is that, we talk to 3 or 4 authors a day, quite in depth about their book and their stories. And individually, as well as a group now, we actually, talk through, well, that's how that went, the conversation went. How can I do a similar conversation the next time better, and be of better service to that the person that you're talking to. So personal development along the way. Individually, I didn't actually the wellness coaching for Midlife Mojo, as well as the personal training, is where we actually looked into things such as cognitive behavior therapy and all those sort of ancillary type of things. I've also done a certificate in hypnotherapy. But I did that out of curiosity and understanding rather than becoming a hypnotherapist. So it's another tool that you can use. I mean, they're all transferable tools that you learn along the way.
And it's so powerful, isn't it? The subconscious mind. When I had a team when I was in a network marketing business, and something a speaker said really resonated, and that was leaders need time to think. And I think we're all a leader in our own life. So it's giving yourself that time to think and reflect. And even if it's when you're running or doing something mindful at the end of the day, and I love the way you've got reflections as part of the title or part of the tagline for Dear Nurse Me.
Absolutely. It's interesting when we wrote that book, because there's 6 of us that did, so it's only 6 chapters long. So each nurse had a chapter to write about a letter to their younger nurse self. But we started with the brief. I project managed that book. We started with the brief to be, we wanted to bring back the humanitarian side of nursing, the connection, connecting with people. So, and each of those nurses wrote those chapters in a different flavour. So it was really interesting, even though it was a common theme throughout. The way that they actually wrote their chapters is quite unique and different to them, which I loved, because each of them had their own approach in doing the work that they do. And yes, there are some patient scenarios, all, not named and, camouflage, all that sort of thing for privacy reasons. But, and two of the nurses in particular found this process of writing their chapters really cathartic, because there were quite some serious things that they wanted to portray in their chapters and their stories. And the acknowledgement at the end of the process that they found that to have the permission to be able to write freely like that was liberating for them. So that was pretty exciting.
So good. You've kind of got the different textures of the different people, just like other sort of compilation books, but it's great that they're all nurses and it's such an important topic.
I'm thinking of doing another one. And I've been approached, but it's just the time that it takes to pull all that together and the energy.
Yeah, but you're right, it is cathartic writing a book. You've had 3 significant challenges in your life. Is there any advice that you would give to someone who is going through a challenge like that, or any other challenge?
Discover yourself. Discover yourself, recognize your own attributes, and really look after yourself. One of the things prior to Midlife Mojo, during I was not taking care of myself, physically, emotionally, mentally. And I think mothers and parents are at risk, and I say parents because men fall in that category as well. We're at risk because we put our children first all the time, and of course you're going to do that, but look after yourself. And I think the young ones now are much more aware of that because of the media and the social media and the connections that you can get there. Just look after yourself 100%. Make time for yourself to do the things that you love. Have fun in every day. Music is my thing too. So when I was running, it was always earpods in and away I went. And even around the house when I'm here by myself, the music is on. It just elevates your mood, and you can put the type of music on that you really enjoy, and just get into that space where you feel good, alive.
Yeah, it just brings up the positive emotions. And you've got some beautiful grandchildren as well.
Yeah, twin daughters. So Emma and Chloe, they're just turned 10 and full of life. We're going to a gymnastics competition this afternoon to watch one of them in their gymnastics. Just beautiful girls. Yeah.
I've got a 10-year-old granddaughter too, and they're just amazing. It's amazing watching them growing up. And is there anything in particular that you're looking forward to?
I think, I'm doing my own transition to retirement at the moment with the career choices that I've made. I'm looking forward to seeing, my children and grandchildren, be happy in their lives, and moving them forward. So we've got 5 children between us. Rhiannon's the only girl. She's the eldest one and has the twin girls. But I'm looking forward to seeing, how they're going to grow. I'm also looking forward, and this is part of the position that I'm doing now, I look forward to seeing these books come to life and to see the transformation that happens in those authors' lives. I'm looking forward to a lot more travel. So I've done a fair bit of travel over the last few years, and we've got a slot on camper. We go around Australia in that. So I'm looking forward to some nice long trips. And just enjoying life, staying happy.
What's your favourite place in Australia that you've been to?
Oh gosh, there's so many. The first thing that came to mind was the Finke Gorge near Alice Springs. So driving up the Finke River through there. The second thing that came to mind was Paranella Park up in far north Queensland, Karumba in the Northern Territory. And we're planning on going to southwest Western Australia, so south of Perth and around there, September next year. So beautiful place. Oh, and I have to say Tassie. I grew up in Tasmania, so every part of Tassie's beautiful.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, Wendy. Thank you so much for taking a moment with me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to Take a Moment with Moana Robinson. Remember to visit her website, bestyled4life.com. unwavering.com.au and book a time for a further conversation.